The Panda Cup finale is postponed. Alan Bunny, commonly known as Dr. Alan, is no longer Panda CEO, and more staff and players are still leaving Panda. Alan hasn't gone quietly. He hasn't accepted any responsibility for any wrongdoing, but says he is stepping down for the safety and well-being of the team. He also says he will release a statement including evidence that the Smash World Tour team lied and that Beyond the Summit leadership put the community in jeopardy. That is in contrast to the Panda Global statement, which suggests that Alan has been removed as CEO in response to the concerns of the Smash community. I'm very curious what the evidence from Alan will be, but it is a bit worrying that he seems to be in full defence and deflection mode. If various smaller scale tournament organisers cited by the SWT statement are to be believed, Dr. Allen has been throwing his weight around in the Smash scene in a seeming attempt to make the Panda Cup the only major Smash tour going. A small part of this at least seems to be corroborated by Panda themselves, who said in a prior statement, the Panda Cup team does acknowledge and regret an interaction between Dr. Allen and Beyond the Summit, in which he spoke in a manner which did not reflect either guidance from Nintendo or our own standards. Panda took efforts to rectify the situation immediately, and in the second half of the year a dedicated team made up of multiple staff members was assembled to manage Panda Cup activities and serve as the primary point of contact for event runners, removing the possibility of future miscommunications from occurring. Furthermore, while Alan is gone as CEO, he still owns most of the shares in Panda. So how much goodwill Panda will get back from this move remains to be seen. The ultimate outcome of this looks like two massive events being cancelled on short notice. A huge fighting game oriented esports organisation tanking its reputation and losing most of its roster, a load of players losing money and stability, and the hard work over many years of grassroots community members being undermined by the actions of a few individuals. There are two sides of this I want to talk about quickly. The first is that the Panda players and staff are being hit hard by decisions and actions that weren't made by them and that they didn't even know about and wouldn't have supported if they did. This reminds me of situations in offline sports, like football. Newcastle United were bought essentially by the Saudi state around a year ago, the same Saudi state that likes to murder critical journalists. But despite some dissatisfaction from some fans, nothing has changed about that. And I think many Newcastle fans see it as a necessary evil, the cost of being able to compete in the modern, money-corrupted Premier League. The current World Cup is similar. For a decade now, it has been widely accepted that Qatar should never have been awarded the World Cup. It was bought through corrupt means, and there have been all sorts of problems associated with it, from the deaths of thousands of migrant workers building stadiums in the Middle Eastern heat, to the fact that gay fans have to decide whether to skip this World Cup or travel to a country where homosexuality is illegal. But despite plenty of superficial protests from players, no major international footballer has said they won't play in the World Cup because of the corruption in how it came about, the lives it has cost, or the risks to certain groups of fans. Maybe if a few of them had, things might have been different. The Panda team is different. Several players and staff have put their loyalty to the community above their loyalty to the team. They have put their own ethics above their short-term interests. That can be risky. I wouldn't necessarily condemn someone for not putting their own livelihood on the line like this. But I think those that have done so deserve enormous praise and support. And their actions, as well as the refusal of the Smash community to sit idly by, have had an impact. Alan would probably still be CEO if none of the team's players had quit and the community had let the uproar die down after a day or two. Players and fans at the grassroots still have power in esports, power which has been usurped by those with unfathomable bank accounts in big traditional sports like football. How can we prevent another Panda fiasco? Personally, I would love to see more esports teams owned by the players and staff in a cooperative structure. Let all the money made from sponsorships, content creation, and tournaments go to those who earn it, and let the responsibility for decisions lie with those who will be most affected by those decisions. Maybe I'm overestimating his pull, but I would love to see Justin Wong try starting his own team along a structure like this, and taking some of the ex-Panda players and staff with him. If anyone in the FGC can attract sponsors, surely it's him. However, we can't ignore the biggest culprit in all this, Nintendo. None of this would have happened without Nintendo suddenly and opaquely pulling back from years of tolerating unlicensed Smash tournaments. It seems ridiculous that Nintendo would turn down the free marketing offered by fan-organised tournaments. If competitive Smash were as big as the Premier League, I might see the financial reasons for Nintendo getting involved and trying to claim some of that money for themselves. But the money involved in these kinds of esports tournaments are absolutely tiny for a company like Nintendo. It seems to be more about power and control. But whatever Nintendo's reasoning, it shows that esports are fragile. They can live and die at the whim of fickle intellectual property owners. I would love to see esports given some kind of legal protection, some special status, maybe along the lines of fair use laws, which might prevent this kind of thing from happening in the future. While the growth of esports can be a great thing, and it is inevitably going to be shaped in some ways by legacy sports, there are some things we want to avoid imitating. Exclusivity tends to favour the business owners, not the fans. Don't let these companies and rich individuals take from you what you have built for yourselves.